Now let's jump on discussion of these four layers and how these can be beneficial in selecting or evaluating a product. Let's have a scenario when you have around 10, 15, 20, or maybe 25 sellers who are making much more than your target revenue. Let's say they are making between $20,000 to $100,000, but you do not dig down further. You just observe the revenue and that's fine, and you go ahead with the product. But if we dig down deep and analyze that all of these sellers who are doing revenue more than our target value, those have crazy number of reviews. Let's say the review number is 5,000, 8,000, 16,000, 20,000. Then this product is not viable to proceed with. What's the reason? We put a safety layer or a protection layer or a protection point during our evaluation, which is to see if there are any sellers which are making close to our target revenue with some less reviews. Because let's discuss, if there's one product, let's say garlic press, and we see that there are 4 to 5 sellers, or let's say 2 3 sellers who are making, let's say 10,000 revenue with 400 to 600 reviews. It means, let's say if I calculate the sales velocity of 500 or 1,000 units per month, and I assume 5 to 10% review velocity, I can expect to get a review number closer to those sellers in fewer months, maybe 3 months to 3 months. That's all. In the other product, we can discuss anything. Let's say balloons. If we see that those sellers who are making revenue of 10,000 or more have do not have reviews less than 3,000 or 4,000, it matters a lot that we find sellers with our target revenue but less number of reviews, because if we do not find someone, or if we find people with the least number of review, let's say in one case 10,000 revenue with 3,000 reviews and 10,000 revenue with 300 reviews, then the probability of getting organic sales or touching this revenue number with some stability is much higher in the second layer. So even if the product depth is crazy or is amazing, we always define it in 4 layers, and we see if we find enough sellers in the first and second layer. Finding enough sellers in the first and second layer will help us to get cash flow positive or get stable much more quickly than as compared to those scenarios or those products in which we do not find these first 2 layers. So let's jump on to these layers and see how these can help us to become to get our product stable or to become cash flow positive much more quicker than those products in which we see a great depth of revenue, maybe let's say 80,000, 100,000, 50,000 plus, but we do not find anyone with doing this kind of crazy revenue with less number of reviews. The more the number of reviews you see, the more time you need to achieve that. In parallel, the more time you need to achieve that relevant revenue number as well. That's how it is. So let's discuss these layers one by one. This is the first layer of relationship between the revenue and review. And as per the criteria which I use usually to evaluate a product, I prefer to see at least 4 sellers in this layer in which those sellers are making 5,000 to 10,000 revenue with reviews anywhere between 500 or less than that. When I say 500, I usually give it a cushion of maybe 100 or 200 reviews above than that. So that can be 700 or less than that. But ideally, if we see the number strictly, that is 500. And we do not qualify any seller for these layers which have less than 3 months of age, because we assume that it's taking around 3 months a seller to start getting organic sales. And about this age, do not get to that data point where it says date first available, because we all know that we list the product and then after 3 months we send the product to the shipment to the Amazon. Instead of this, go to the Keepa BSR chart, or go to the Helium 10 BSR chart and see from which date this BSR graph is starting, and take that date as a starting point. Now in the second layer, I prefer to see at least 4 sellers having revenue between 10,000 to 20,000, reviews near to or less than 1,000, and definitely the age is more than 3 months. And what does these two layers mean? Where if we find these layers while evaluating a product, or if you find sellers that fall under these two layers while evaluating a product, that means instead of targeting someone with 50,000 revenue and crazy number of reviews or much higher than that, I see that there are people who are doing, something kickstarting revenue or around 10,000 or near to that with some decent reviews. It means that is a social proof, or that is a proof which I'm getting that I can get traction with these less number of reviews, and I can touch this kind of revenue with these number of reviews. That's kind of a proof, that's kind of validation that gives me confidence that yes, after this thing I would achieve some stability, and then definitely I can use the profit getting from these sales, whatever the margin is, to grow further, to jump to the second layer, then to the third layer, then to the fourth layer. Now imagine there's a product in which these two layers are not available, and we see that there is no seller having less number of reviews and touching this kind of revenue. Like, yeah, let's say let's omit these two layers for some time while we are evaluating a product, and we see all those sellers who are doing 20,000 or plus revenue, all those sellers have 2,000 or more reviews. We do find some sellers in these kind of products with, let's say, 300 400 review, but no one is earning more than 2,000 revenue or 3,000 revenue. Then it means there is a relationship, or there is a preference in the mind of buyers while purchasing the product regarding what is the review number of these sellers. It matters in as a buyer perspective. So we see that we are unable to find any such seller who is doing our target revenue, let's say anything 10,000 or near to or more than that, with these less number of reviews. It means if we plan to get stable in this niche, we need to get at least somewhat half or near to the third layer reviews. I mean, near to 2,000 reviews. It means it will require higher time or more months for me to get stable. More months mean more budget, delayed ROI. That's how one should evaluate a product, or one should keep this point during product evaluation in its mind. So that's why the presence of these two layers are important when we evaluate a product. Now the third layer, yeah, definitely when we have these two layers, we can always grow into the second layer, then to the third layer. This fourth layer, that kind of defines the revenue depth of the product. Let's say we see we have at least two sellers having crazy revenue. It doesn't matter how much reviews do they have, and definitely their age is going to be way much high. And it defines that after getting to the third layer, this product has some potential for growth. Maybe some generic keywords, like let's say if the product is of kitchen niche, then there are some generic keywords, or maybe via sponsored display or whatsoever is the medium. This product has the potential to grow the revenue further to this layer. This is kind of a proof, or this is kind of a reference point that yes, we can jump into the first layer, and then growing gradually we can touch the fourth layer. So that matters a lot during evaluating a product. The relationship between review and revenue, we can easily study that while during evaluating a product on Helium 10 X-ray, and we should keep these layers in our mind. It will help a lot in finding those products which get profitable or which get stable much more quicker than a very highly competitive product. Hope it helps. Do like the video and subscribe the channel if you want to get more such videos. Thank you so much.